And welcome back to another episode of the On the Sideline podcast with Jackson and Kyle. I am Jackson, and I'm joined here, as always, by the man who is never the On the Sideline podcast biggest question. Kyle, how's it going?
Doing fantastic. I went up to watch a game and the Green Monster yesterday for baseball. That was fun, even though we lost. And doing pretty good. How are you doing?
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I'm doing well. I got to do that. So one of these days, I got to just like take a trip and go to all like those classic ballparks like that, Yankee Stadium, even though it's new Yankee Stadium, Wrigley. Like that just seems cool.
Yeah, you got to knock them all out. I'd love to do all 30. Maybe one day I'll write about it.
Yeah, that's one of those things that like it's like that and like hiking the Appalachian Trail. It's like I always tell myself one of these days I'm going to, and I'm never going to.
Yeah, probably not. One of these days I'll quit. I'll quit everything.
Okay, quit. Well, don't quit everything.
You'll never see me again. That's it.
That's the dream, isn't it?
Yeah, just living in baseball stadiums.
Yes, Kyle, we have a fun show to discuss today. We are going to go through every AFC team and talk about their biggest question heading into the 2025 season. Next week, we will do the NFC. We're going to have some scheduling conflicts, which stay tuned for next week. We'll explain what exactly those are. We've got some vacation stuff getting in the way. But for these two shows, we'll be fine. It's the biggest question for each team. That doesn't necessarily... I think you probably did the same thing where I tried not to do quarterback for every team because you kind of could, just given the position, how important that is. But there are some quarterbacks I have on my list. But yeah, I left it kind of vague, but I think we get the I don't think we need to explain it much further. I think people get it, right?
Yeah, I think so. Some of these teams, especially the teams at the very top, I kind of went a little more niche, like a little more more interesting things like that. And then I think there are some bigger picture ones you could talk about. I did do a few quarterbacks, but I tried to keep it limited for sure. I think there's 3 or 4 here that I definitely wanted to talk quarterback about. So those are going to be the interesting ones for those. But outside of that, I try to keep it I try to put as much diversity into this as possible.
Yeah, I definitely have some obscure ones as well, although some non-obscure ones. Let's just get into the list. Let's start off with the I have my notes set up so we do the AFC East, and then North, and then South, and then West. So we want to start off with the Bills?
Yeah, we can start with the Bills.
Okay, I'll go first. I have Maxwell Harrison, the corner they just drafted in the first round pick. I think that their biggest issue in the playoffs has been being able to stop Mahomes. A big part of that has been not being able to cover what the Chiefs are throwing out there. A potential, fast corner who can kind of help stop what Andy Reid does. That feels like if he can hit, that could maybe tip the scales and allow the Bills to be the ones representing the AFC this year.
Yeah, he's definitely a big part of that, what they're trying to do this season. They swap out Joey Bosa for Von Miller on the line of scrimmage. He comes in. They actually bring back Tre'Davious White, who's his backup now. They still have Dane Jackson on the team. It's him. It's Teron Johnson. It's Christian Bevenford. And yeah, I had the secondary as a whole as this one, but I think Harrison's the big portion of this. This team really struggled to get stops through the air at times last season. Obviously, that iconic Rams game during the regular season was one. I think even the Chiefs game, and as we've seen in the playoffs over and over again against the Chiefs, they really struggled to get like the big timely stop against the Chiefs, it seems like at times. Granted, I think everybody kind of tends to struggle with that because it's the Kansas City Chiefs, but this team is trying to beat them, and their secondary wasn't good enough last year. They didn't get enough timely stops. They were 20th in EPA per pass play. And they go and get Hairston in the first round. He has a ton of speed, like you said. He kind of fits the profile of what they need to make a stop. But overall, I think this coverage unit just has to play better. You're looking at those guys in the secondary. You're looking at Taylor Rapp and DeMar Hamlin at safety, who took over as starters last year. Matt Milano came back from a major injury and didn't look the same last year. But I still think he's a pretty good linebacker. Can he get closer to the same? Because, yeah, this secondary, if this team wants to reach its Super Bowl aspirations, this whole group has to play better. And they're going to be relying on a rookie to do it as well. And that's going to be a fascinating aspect.
Kieran has a wild conspiracy theory in the comment section, but yeah, I agree with everything you said. I also just feel like the one difference between the Bills and like every other team that constantly plays the Chiefs in the playoffs is it feels like they have had those like star quarterback moments, right? Like the Ravens when they played the Chiefs, like Lamar didn't play great and they made a lot of mistakes. Like, okay, the Bengals, kind of both of those games ended up being lower scoring. This is like the one team where it seems like Josh Allen consistently does great, and the offense consistently doesn't great. They just can't get. It's not that they can't even get timely stops. It's like they can't get any.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Josh Allen's been good in a lot of these games. That's where the thing about quarterback loser kind of just strikes me. It's like, I think there's a difference from what we've seen from Josh Allen and what we see from Lamar Jackson in a lot of these playoff games. Or if you can go back to like early Peyton Manning and some of those playoff losses, although he got better as it went along and got a couple Super Bowls, played some really, really good playoff games too. But like, it's really hard to say like, oh, Josh Allen's a loser when it's like, yeah, he had 277 yards and 4 touchdowns or whatever it was in one of those games. Oh, did I lose you there?
First second. I'm not sure if it was on my end or your end, but it was just like 2 seconds.
Yeah, it was like it would be like yeah, he had 277 yards and 4 touchdowns or whatever it was in that one playoff game, and their team gave up a score in 13 seconds and he lost. And it's like, oh, Josh Allen's a loser again. And it's just like, I don't know what else is he supposed to do. This whole team has to step up and make it easier for him, make it better for him. And can they do it? I mean, if they never do it, they're never going to win a Super Bowl, but it has to be a team effort.
Yeah, Kyle, leading more evidence to you being locked up in my basement by giving a compliment to Peyton Manning.
I know, right? I'm not in Jackson's basement. I'm at a camper in New Hampshire. So yeah, I am staying in a camper. There's the woods behind me.
That sounds like a country album.
Yeah, like a Noah Kahan album, maybe.
Yeah, I think so.
I've never listened to any of his music. Apparently, he's from Vermont. I do like Vermont, but okay.
I've listened to. I don't like country music, but I like his music.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't get modern folk music a lot of the times. Like, you could just listen to Bob Dylan and not like the Timothy Chalamet Bob Dylan, like actual Bob Dylan. You know. You could just, I don't know. But I mean, like, look, if you like it, you like it. I'm not going to judge you too hard.
But I notoriously have the worst music taste. Like, this is, yeah, like, I think Imagine Dragons is pretty good. Like, I'm the worst.
Pretty bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just, unless you're like an aggressive gamer that drinks like 30 Mountain Dews a day, I don't know how you like Imagine Dragons.
I just think it's fun. It's like good running music.
That's fair. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, because you don't have to listen to the words. So,
well, yeah, the words are. I mean, you just hear thunder over and over.
Yeah, it's just the drums in the background while you're running. That makes sense. Yeah,
I don't even know why they bother with singing.
The guy doesn't have a bad voice. It's just fake. I don't.
Yeah. Let's move on. Kyle, Miami Dolphins. What did you go for their biggest question?
Miami Dolphins. What did I have for the biggest play? I just said in general, what's the plan for this defense? It took a minor step back last season, although I think the numbers actually showed that it played better than kind of the perception of what this defense was. But over the last 2 years, there's just been so many pieces that have been taken off this team lately on the defensive side of the ball specifically. They still have Jalen Phillips, Chop Robinson in there. They still have Jalen Ramsey for now, but I don't think it doesn't seem like Jalen Ramsey is going to be their week 1 of the season. And then, obviously they lost Javon Holland in free agency. So what exactly is the plan here? Because this offense at times is absolutely dominant, and maybe this offense is good enough to keep this in playoff contention, even without an awesome defense. But like, if this defense takes a significant step back and they do trade Jalen Ramsey, which it seems like they're going to, like, I don't see the pathway for this team getting 10 wins and getting to the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm similar with you. I did like this comment. If Imagine Dragons was a football team, it would be 68 tush pushes in a row. I'm similar with you. I decided to go with one player. How about Storm Duck? Storm Duck is my biggest question. So who is Storm Duck? He was an undrafted free agent who played 350 snaps last year. Wasn't great, but also with a name like Storm Duck, how can you not be someone who ends up being great? Seems like he's going to start at the corner position. Kyle, Storm Duck, that's my biggest question.
Yeah. So is that a recipe? Like, because wasn't there that quarterback Duck Hodges or something? So is having like a name like Duck like automatic precursor to being like a good player, or is it? Like, I think
it's automatic precursor to being a bad player who for some reason gets playing time.
Yeah, it's either like you're good, you're really good, or you're like really bad, right? Like, you can't just be like an average player with the like name Storm Duck.
Yeah, it's like how I still think Colt McCoy is good because like his name is like, you can't just pick an okay backup.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I look at this team though, just transitioning from that, I'm not sure how I'm going to do it. I mean, like, look, I still like in theory Jalen Phillips. I like Bradley Chubb. I like Chop Robinson. But the rest of this team, man, it's like, Jordan Brooks has never been a guy I'm very high on, even at his best days. They're not very strong at linebacker. The safeties are, big question marks. Melifonwu has been around and not really performed. And, is it going to be Storm Duck and Cam Smith at corner? Cater Kahu's a pretty good nickelback, but that's, if your best things are, your nickelback, I don't know exactly, speaking of bands, I just don't really know what your game plan is here. That's not really a recipe for success usually.
My Nickelback take is I think everyone has one Nickelback song they secretly like.
I guess so, maybe.
Yeah, I think so. Everyone's going to deny it.
They all sound the same, but it's fine.
But that's kind of why it's like, if Storm Duck, they believe in him, if he can actually be decent, like, at least the cornerback room looks pretty good with him and Ramsey and like Cater Kohu. Like, at least that could be something. That's kind of why I decided to go with him, because I agree, this is a defense that if he's not good, this could be one of the worst defenses in the league.
Yeah, it looks like it could get bad pretty quickly unless these edge rushers are just awesome, because that's the only thing I really like about this team. Again, assuming Jalen Ramsey does not end up on this team forever. If he is there, I mean, obviously he's still very good on his own as well. But, we've talked a lot. Football is becoming a weak link sport, and especially in the secondary, if you have a weak link, it's going to get targeted relentlessly. They don't have to throw at Jalen Ramsey if they don't have to.
Yeah. I think the other thing that I thought about, but again, trying to not pick quarterbacks, but just Tua's health, right? Like, can we get 17 plus games out of him, especially with this, absolutely loaded offensive line?
Yeah. that the other one I was thinking about was, how does this group survive without Armstead? This is another group, they lost.
I don't think it's a question. I think we know how it's going to. I think we know how it's going to be. Yeah,
that was the issue I had with that. Putting it as a question is like, I think this offensive line just going to be bad. That's my answer. And then the Tua thing is, I'm assuming he's not going to play 17 games. And then the follow up is, do I trust their backup plan? And their backup plan is Zach Wilson and Quinn Ewers. So it is, I do not.
Interesting stuff going on in Miami. Let's go to another team that is always interesting. Maybe not always for the right reasons. The Jets here. So I kind of went with, I guess, twofold. I just put Sauce Gardner for my pick. Like, will he go back to being the elite level corner? But I also kind of put, like, in parentheses, will the entire defense just get back to what it was? Because it seemed like so many individual pieces had down years last year after Robert Saleh left, and like getting a in this situation, could things go better? So, but Sauce Gardner is my main thing here. Yeah,
I didn't do any specific player again, but I did do a lot. Like, what's I think the Aaron Rodgers, hoopla of it all kind of took away from the fact that a lot of these, the reason Aaron Rodgers was not the only reason that the Jets were a trendy pick to win the AFC East last year. They have a lot of really bright young talent that people were really excited about. Breece Hall, not as the precursor to being like amazing or anything, but Breece Hall was, I think at one point a consensus number 1 overall fantasy football pick last year. You have guys like him. You had Garrett Wilson, obviously, who had his moments, but still, I think, took a little bit of a step back as far as, hype and expectations and performance. They have young players on this offensive line that I didn't think played to their best standards. You obviously, you mentioned Sauce Gardner, who felt like he took a step back. I think, you can go up and down the roster with a lot of really talented young players on this team. The only player that I felt like really took a step forward for the Jets last season was DJ Reed. And now he's on another team. He signed elsewhere in free agency. So you don't even have your best player from last season, debatably. So I want to see these young guys with a new voice, because, I did like Aaron Glenn as an assistant coach and as a coaching candidate. But I thought the interesting thing about the hire was, typically when teams fire a coach, you typically see them do a 180 on whatever they did before. So if it was an inexperienced coach, they usually go for experience. If they went defensive coach, they usually go offensive guru. That kind of thing is usually how it plays out. It felt like they hired Robert Saleh all over again. He was the trendy defensive coordinator candidate, young, upstart, up-and-coming guy on that, brought a lot of energy. And it just feels like Aaron Glenn is a lot of that too. So is the new voice just going to help progress this? And is he just a better coach? It's possible. But yeah, I want to see how they do with a new voice. And can these young players that we had so much hype and potential over kind of regain form?
Aaron Glenn does have a different religion than Robert Saleh. Maybe they're trying to just get all their bases there with like going to different religions.
Yeah. That is fair. Maybe they avoid some conversations, obviously, with Saleh that they can get with Glenn instead.
Yeah. Are you buying into Brandon Stevens, the one corner who did not have a good year with the Ravens? Will he do well with the Jets?
I can't say I'm too excited for that one.
Mm-hmm.
I even beyond Sauce, who I think could have a really good bounce back season and play at an all-pro standard again. It's a lot of like Andre Sisco at one point was good. Is he still that guy that we can get excited about? I don't know. Like you said, Brandon Stevens didn't perform very well last season. So can they improve there? Even just across the board, though, it's like Jermaine Johnson was the guy I really liked a couple seasons and, didn't really bring it last year. Quinnen Williams was a guy who I felt like took a step back. Can these guys regain form? And, what is this defense's potential?
It's Michael, the way he phrased it. Jets' biggest offseason move is going from Allah to God. Yeah. 1-for-1 trade. We'll see how it works.
Yeah, not even a first-round pick involved or anything.
Yeah. Kyle, let's talk about your team. I'll give you the floor. What is their biggest question?
Yeah, I mean, it's still about the young quarterback for me. This is one of my quarterback ones. Can Drake May, who showed flashes of absolute brilliance. I think he had moments where, the arm on some of his touchdown passes was really impressive. The ability to buy time, extend plays, and kind of work off improvisation was really impressive at times for Drake May. But there was also a lot of mistakes and a lot of, are they young mistakes or is it just kind of like, is that his game? Is he going to be a mistake heavy quarterback that also makes the occasional amazing play too? So can he round that into form? Can he take that next step? I still think a lot of this team's about Drake May because I do think a lot of the things for the Patriots are known. I think this secondary is going to be awesome. I really like this linebacker group. I think the offensive line is going to be okay, especially if Will Campbell's good out of the gate. I think the receivers could be hit or miss, and I think the edge rushers could really be hit or miss. The one thing, though, is like this team does have a potential to be pretty good if Drake May is good because it's the quarterback. The quarterback adds a lot, and he's shown moments of being, a top-class quarterback. He also had moments where he looked like a kid making a bunch of mistakes or, some of these guys that we see at the bottom of our quarterback rankings with some of the throws and the misreads. So which version of Drake May can we round into form? Is he going to be more like the guy that looks brilliant at times or the guy that's going to, put the ball in harm's way?
It's the correct answer. Drake, again, for just about every team you could put the quarterback in, especially if they're like a young quarterback you're hoping has a second-year leap. Like, it's the correct answer. But again, doing my best to avoid quarterbacks if I could. I just want Stephon Diggs. I'm just like, are you going to get like? He's still a really good player. Even like his 400 snaps for Houston last year, he was good in those. Like, and if you can get like a good outside receiver, that does I think change the dynamic of this team. I think the defense should be pretty good next year for New England, and like. The offensive line's gotten better, although I still think there's some holes here, but like getting a number one receiver just makes everything look better on a offense. And like, if he can do that, like Drake May will be how Drake May is, but that could help.
Yeah, it's rookie left tackle, rookie center. That's going to be a tough part. But yeah, Stephon Diggs would help a lot. He's brought a lot of wide receiver one energy to the offseason. Can it translate to the football field? We'll see. He's finally showed up at practice, which is a good thing. No boat trips, hopefully, for the rest of the summer. And yeah, I think that's a big part of it. I think the other thing you can add too is like just as from a little more niche perspective would be like, can this offense be faster? Because this team just looks horrendously slow at times when they played. They add Kyle Williams, they add Travion Henderson in the draft, which two are the most explosive players in the draft. So there was clearly an emphasis to say, we want to be a faster team. We want to be more explosive. Can they translate that to the field as well?
Yeah. What is wide receivers and boats? What is that? It's like you at a wedding reception. It's just like where you thrive.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Didn't bring cocaine to the wedding reception.
Okay. So that's good to know.
Yeah. But yeah, it's it is something that a lot goes on there, I guess.
I guess so. Yeah. I also like this. Kieran said, "Is a God tier list too controversial?" Yeah. I think so. I think we can't do the God tier list.
Yeah, we'll save that for a couple weeks from now. Don't worry.
Yeah, I think so.
I got some hot takes on that one. You want to hear? No,
okay. Any other thoughts on Patriots? Or do you want to move on? It's your team. Take as long as you need.
No, I think I touched the big ones. Like I said,
Mhm.
I think a lot of the things as long as this team's healthy, are known. I think the offensive line, edge rushers, and then overall just receivers and speed are going to be the big thing. I think there's a chance this team's good, but I still need to see a lot of it happen before I bet on it.
Yeah. Let's move on to the Baltimore Ravens, who, listen, I'm looking at like what are the question marks, and I'm like, there really isn't anything. Like, this is the team that top to bottom. Like, I could look at some some things here, like maybe like an offensive lineman, like the question mark here or there, but like that's not really my question here. My question here is, how are they going to play in the playoffs? Like, that's what I think about when I think about the Ravens, which isn't a player. You can't analyze it, but it's like they're going to be really good. They're going to make the playoffs. They're probably going to have a good seed, but are they going to play well when it matters?
I mean, it's absolutely the question that everyone should ask. Like, can they play in the biggest moments? We've seen it time and time again that they've fallen short, or things take a step back. Can this passing game play a little bit better? I don't think it played very well in the playoffs again. So yeah, I think it's all completely justified. I do have one thing I wanted to touch on that was other than that, because the playoff thing is interesting, but it's very much of like, it's a wait and see. We'll see. They have to show that it can. They have to show that they can do it in the biggest moments, and we can't really say yes or no of that until it happens. I do think the defense is going to be interesting for next season. They got off to a really slow start. If you remember the beginning of last season, it was a very uncharacteristic Baltimore start on the defensive side of the ball. And a lot of it was the secondary wasn't really performing to the standards we usually have for the Ravens. Ardarius Washington was a big part of that team getting better last season in the defensive side. And he tore his Achilles in May, like last month. So he's basically out for the year. So that means Malachi Starks is going to step in and play free safety for this team. I do think that's a big part of it, along with Chidobe Awuzie at that other corner spot, a guy who at time was a really good player and hasn't really been that way after a few injuries. So can those guys bring the secondary back or hold up what we expect from Baltimore in those positions?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I mean, there's a good chance of it.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I agree. There's question marks, but it's Baltimore. Even like last year, like they started slow, and then they were like the best secondary in the league in the second half of the year. Like they'll figure it out.
Yeah. I mean, they'll probably figure it out towards the end of the year for sure. I could see Starks taking a little bit to get going, but I do like him. But I mean, that's a big big shoes to fill there.
Michael asked, can we get a full Jackson wedding recap at the end? I mean, maybe. I don't really know what else I feel like I don't know what else to add.
Yeah, I mean, it was a nice wedding. I like it.
Yeah, it's fun. I don't know. Yeah, there was open bar. I don't know. Like what do you want me to give you a color palette? There's only so much to say.
Yeah, had a steak there. What else? We danced for a bit.
I thought DJ did because we only had like an hour and a half of dancing, but I thought he did like a very good job of making the most of it.
Yeah, we definitely maxed the opportunity there, because that was the tough part, because of the delays early with the rain, it pushed back the dance time. But he knocked those sounds out quick. We were ready to go.
Yeah. Also, No Hands was a real hit at the. I thought.
Yeah, for a a lot of white people, that was a big popular song, I guess. So I was impressed.
Yeah. Who knew Waka Flocka still works well for a white audience?
Yeah. I guess so. Look at that. Look at us. We're just way to everything. That's all.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, that's our wedding recap. Steelers. I mean, it's the Aaron Rodgers, right?
It is the Aaron Rodgers. I mean,
yeah.
Is it the Aaron Rodgers? Is it Kirk Cousins? I mean, is it?
What's worse? I was buying into the Steelers like a month ago, and now I'm like I'm already like the Aaron Rodgers, like, you know, I just thought it was like, if you're going to sign to the Steelers, why are you not like playing? Like what? Like you think like both Matthew Stafford and Tom Brady, like immediately once they got to their team, were like trying to like get chemistry down, trying to do all this stuff. Like how can you? I would feel so much better about the Steelers if it's Mason Rudolph and Will Howard.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I don't think Aaron Rodgers cares about winning Super Bowls anymore.
Maybe not, perhaps, but
I think he just cares
Steelers
about,
do.
I think he cares about being on TV. That's all he wants. I think he wants attention more than actually winning at this point. Because if he would, he'd be there. You're right. Like, you know, Brady, Manning, those guys took the game seriously. I don't think Aaron Rodgers takes it seriously. And that's fine. You know, just do what you want. He's going to collect the checks. I don't know what the end game is for this team, though, man. That's my question. Like, this is a big picture one for me. I don't know what your end game is here because I was interested to start the offseason because they make the big splash for DK Metcalf, and it sounds like they're going to either bring back Russell Wilson or get Aaron Rodgers. So far, they've done neither of those things, although they're kind of waiting on Rodgers to say yes, it sounds like. But instead of pairing DK Metcalf and George Pickens, which is what I wanted to see, which I thought would have been a really interesting duo for Russell Wilson because he loves that deep ball.
Right.
They trade George Pickens before paying him, which I understand to an extent. But then you're stuck in the same situation where now you have DK Metcalf, who I think is an upgrade to George Pickens, obviously. But you have Robert Woods and Calvin Austin as your next receivers. You have Pat Freiermuth as your tight end. You get a running back in Caleb Johnson after letting Najee Harris go. You still have Jalen Warren. You know, this still is a pretty mediocre at best offense and bad if it's Mason Rudolph on quarterback. And then your defense, you know, this is still a very expensive defense. It's one of the most expensive defenses in the league. And you have Cam Hayward, who's, you know, in his 30s. You have TJ Watt, who's now 30. You have Minka Fitzpatrick, who's 28. You bring in Darius Slay, who's a good player, but he's 34. Like, there are a few good young players, good players under 30 on this team. But, like, what is the end game with this? Like, I would be surprised that I'm not picking for the Steelers to do anything more than 9-10 wins because that's just what I'm going to bet on forever. Because it just doesn't seem like they're interested in doing anything else. Otherwise, they would have loaded up for this season.
Yeah, and I kind of think this could be like the year that it finally the streak ends. Like I think that's possible.
I mean, if it's Mason Rudolph starting week 1, I would bet against it.
What if it's Aaron Rodgers? Like, I don't think it's crazy that like again like. You know, I brought up Matthew Stafford because like he's not known for being like a psycho when it comes to football, but like he was still like, oh, I'm with a new team. I have to like learn this stuff, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I would probably bet on 7, 8, 9, 10 wins, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it falls off a cliff. I don't think Aaron Rodgers cares. So
unless he's secretly been practicing in Egypt or whatever with all these guys, and then he's going to be amazing next year, and then he'll brag about it on Pat McAfee.
I don't think he's a big Egypt guy.
That's where he was last year, right?
Was it?
I thought so. I could be wrong.
Was he trying to like find some like pyramid conspiracy theory to back up like any claims he has?
Trying to see if it's actually there. See if they see any like alien artifacts on the
pyramids. He was looking for aliens near the pyramids.
I think so. Yeah.
Oh, lunatic. He's going to go to New York City then and, you know, look through the rubbish for any inside jobs.
Okay. All right. Well, let's pull back here, Kyle. The Bengals. Kyle, what is your Bengals biggest question mark?
Just, you know, Trey Hendrickson. I think that's the biggest question of the offseason for me, too, because, you know, I'm pretty, you know, for a defense that basically let his team down last season, and they did not make the playoffs because of their defense last season, 100%. They're basically running it back, but with TJ Slayton and Oren Burks, who are okay players. You know, Burks played well in, you know, limited minutes as a backup, but it's a lot of the same faces beyond that. They didn't get anybody else. And then this whole Trey Hendrickson thing is looming over this. Like, they have to get this extension done, it feels like, at this point, because what else do you do? Because if he was a defensive player of the year candidate last year, maybe the best defensive player in football, and this defense stunk. What are you going to do without Trey Hendrickson next year? So yeah, they have to get this done. They have to figure that out because I think this defense just still feels incredibly problematic unless we see big leaps from some of these young players.
Yeah, it's tough. I don't know if it's getting better. The one thing I looked at was I decided to go to the other side of the ball, even though the offense was already awesome last year, and just go Orlando Brown Jr. and Armarius Mims. Mims, a first-round pick who didn't play well his rookie year. Orlando Brown Jr. has played well in a tough offense to play well as a tackle in Kansas City. Did not really play great with the Bengals. And I just feel like maybe if you can get those guys going, I could see a higher ceiling because like the Hendrickson thing's a good one because yeah, if he doesn't play, they're really in trouble. So I think I get that, but yeah, I think there's a lot of questions with this team.
Yeah, I mean, what is the higher ceiling for this Bengals offense? I guess they run the ball a little bit better. Like
it's fair. You're. I mean, the reason why I didn't think about Hendrickson, the reason why I didn't pick defense was just like I don't think the defense is going to be great again. Like I don't think they're going to like take a big step forward.
Yeah.
Like what's the lower floor for this defense? Like it goes both ways, you know. Like they don't have a little bit of room for improvement offensively, but don't have a little bit of disprovement defensively.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's just it's going to be crazy if this team misses the playoff again. But yeah, they have to see development from some of these guys because it wasn't good last year, and it's a lot of the same faces. So, I guess the other thing would just be September. Can this team show up?
I thought about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I considered that as well. It was just like what about Evan McPherson? He was supposed to be that great.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't care about kickers. You know.
Okay, that's fine. That's okay. You don't have to. Yeah, no. The Bengals should play in some of the best games of next season.
They're going to be exciting. That's for sure.
They're must watch.
Whether they win or lose, I mean, there's still a scenario where I think the team last year could have won like 11 games and made a run. People still say I'm crazy. So I still believe in the 2024 Bengals in a different light, in a different universe, a different timeline. Could have been in the Super Bowl last year. I still believe there's a timeline for that, but yeah, they didn't win the close games.
Yeah, I mean they did win like 5 straight to end the season, but yeah, so they were hot at the right time. Super Bowl's a bit much, but yeah, they did some nice thing. You want to move on to the Browns, Kyle? What is the Browns' biggest question mark?
Why should I watch?
Yeah,
why is Myles Garrett in Asia during OTAs? No, I'm just kidding. That was such a ridiculous thing. You know what? The one thing I do not care about I'm not worried about for the Cleveland Browns next year, Myles Garrett. Like he's going to show up and be good. I don't think anybody else on this team. I mean, they have a couple other good players. I think I trust like 3 of the 22 starters on this team. He is one of those 3. I think he's going to be fine, even if he spends some time in. Where was he? The Anime Awards?
I didn't even hear about this scandal. But also, like, he's an edge rusher. Like, what's he gonna like? He knows what he has to do when he plays. Like, why does he even really need to practice?
Yeah, he's gonna run at the quarterback. Okay.
Yeah, he's got it. Like I think he understands the scheme. Like we're good.
Yeah. I trust him to figure out his role on this team. Okay. I don't think he needs to show up to OTAs. His girlfriend's pretty good for him. I mean, look, this is another one of those obvious quarterback ones. Like, what's the plan this season? What's the plan for the next 5 years? Obviously, they had a plan. That plan kind of blew up in their face. No euphemisms meant there.
Okay, all right.
But
calm down.
Deshaun Watson's not going to play quarterback next season. Probably never going to take a Brown snap again.
Have you seen his contract? What it still is? It's
gross.
This year he has like even the way it's structured because it's 2 years left, but his cap hits $36 million this year. It's $80 million next year, and if they can't even cut him that year because then they have to pay an extra $50 million because of void years. Because then in 2027 they owe him $27 million. The following year they owe him $18 million, and then in 2029 they're still going to owe him $8 million.
I don't know who signed off on this. It's insane. Is that GM still in charge?
Maybe. I don't know. I think so.
Yeah. Someone should be fired.
That's Andrew Berry, right?
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, I don't know. Like, look, you bring it. I actually thought the Kenny Pickett trade was good, which is funny because
there you go.
Yeah, it's like Dorian Thompson-Robinson, was not good. He's up there in the Nathan Peterman Mount Rushmore of quarterbacks. So Kenny Pickett comes in. I think he's a solid backup quarterback. You have Joe Flacco, who is, America's quarterback. And then you got 2 rookies. You drafted Dylan Gabriel. You drafted Shorter Sanders. That was obviously highly publicized. So what's the plan this season? What's the plan for the next 5 years? I mean, this team's not going to be good because of everything you just get laid out with their contract situation, with a guy who's not going to play for their team for the next few years and what he's making. But, like, can you salvage something with these guys and make this watchable for the next few years? Because I just don't think they're going to have a time. Their entire rookie contracts with these quarterbacks is basically going to be bogged down by, a guy on their team who's not going to play.
Yeah. No. I have Arch Manning as my biggest question.
Yeah. So you're already out on Shedeur and Dylan Gabriel? No chance?
I mean, we'll see what they can do. I don't know if they're both going to make the team.
Yeah. That'd be funny. One probably isn't, right?
Yeah, I mean, because there's 4, unless it's Flacco or Pickett miss it.
I mean, I guess one thing, like, one of them is going to go to the practice squad, but I don't know.
Yeah, but then maybe does someone else want him at that point?
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. I mean, what a disaster. I don't know. It's going to be a weird one. I'm not looking forward to watching this team next year. That's my opinion.
Yes, I think I agree. Let's move on. Let's go to the Houston Texans. I just went with offensive lineman Ariante Essery, the guy who they drafted in the 2nd round, trying to improve that offensive line. I think that if he can hit, that would help out a lot with that. So that's my pick.
I had the same one. And just the offensive line as a whole can be talked about because it obviously wasn't good last year with Laramie Tunsil. They lose Laramie Tunsil. And yeah, I mean, I think it's a work in progress. I mean, it seems like they're going to start Kyan Robinson and maybe this Essery. You have Titus Howard still. Is it a position that they can hold up? Because it was a big problem last year. I mean, it really was. This defense is top notch. I expect the defense to be really good again, but who knows? It may take a slight setback because defenses can be weird like that, especially defenses built through the secondary, as we've talked about. But they have a really young, talented corner duo in Stingley and Kamari Lassiter that I'm excited for. This defense I expect to be awesome. It really comes down to, can this offensive line help this offense succeed? Because there's a lot of really talented players on this team. This team should have been better than it was last year, and they couldn't block for CJ Stroud. So I'm interested to see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, good defense. I like the weapons a good amount. I think Nico Collins is one of the real underrated receivers in this game. And then, CJ Stroud, like the debates are, is he great or is he really good? Like, that's not a bad situation to be in. But yeah, they got to block for him.
Yeah. Jaden Higgins is a nice draft pick. Christian Kirk, I think, is still a pretty good number 3 wide receiver, assuming Tank Dell's not going to play this year. But if Tank Dell does play, then all of a sudden that's a pretty deep receiver room, along with having Joe Mixon and Dameon Pierce, 2 running backs we've seen play really well in this league. This offense should be good. The offensive line has to hold up and do its part.
Yeah, we can move on from Texans. I think we kind of get them. What you do for the Colts?
Yeah, I went a little quarterback heavy in this division, I'll be honest. But, Anthony Richardson does have to rise to the occasion because there is a good chance that everyone on the Colts gets fired this season because they don't have an option at quarterback, whether it's Daniel Jones or him. I think there's a safe path to them starting Daniel Jones next year, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's the better quarterback. But the ceiling of this team and this team realizing its potential is still evolving. Anthony Richardson turning into the prospect that we were excited about, just with the overall tantalizing talent. Can he take that leap that they're looking for? We've seen very momentary flashes of it. He has some amazing highlights, but he has a lot of lowlights. Can he kind of figure that thing out? Can he figure his game out and be a consistent player? Because this is another team. This team should have been better than what it was. The receivers all took a huge step back last year. A lot of receivers we like on this team. They had a decent defense. They have a good offensive line. They have Jonathan Taylor. This team should have been a lot better, and it just felt like they were kind of stuck in the mud. And a lot of that has to do with the quarterback position.
Well, let's not forget. I mean, Jonathan Taylor dropping the ball at the 1-yard line against Denver late in the year, which the Broncos ended up winning that game. There was a real chance that the Colts probably would have won that game had Taylor just hung on to the ball for an extra yard, and then the Colts would have been in the driver's seat for a playoff spot. Like even with the disastrous quarterback play. I also have the quarterbacks as my I just put the quarterbacks in general because, like, I don't know, if Daniel Jones can play like the 20th best quarterback in football, like that elevates this roster. Like that, like if they had the 20th best quarterback play last year, they're a playoff team. So you don't need a superstar play, although of course, I mean, I'm losing hope that either could be a superstar, but you would think that the 23-year-old Anthony Richardson has a better chance at this point.
Yeah, definitely. So it definitely is a thing. And I mean, there's a whole different aspect to this team now because, like, obviously the tragic stuff with the was it the owner, and obviously the owner passing away, and like there's going to be a new voice in charge all of a sudden, and it's like, yeah, if this season doesn't go well again, like it's probably not just the quarterback that's being replaced in the offseason. It's probably coaches, general managers, like, owners usually like to have their input on things as soon as they take over and are in charge. Like, I could see a situation where there's several changes if things don't go well again.
Yeah, unless you're Carolina. He just lets everyone do their thing.
Well, it's just, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, that new ownership syndrome thing is real. We see in the NBA and the NFL, like, as soon as these people take over things, they want to...
Hey, maybe this Luka guy isn't that great.
Yeah, exactly. They want to, these people are really successful in life, right? And when you're really successful in life, it's usually because you're in charge and you think you know more than everybody else. But what they quickly learn, they don't know shit about sports, right? And so they're trying to know things, and they think they know things, and they don't, and they make a bunch of mistakes. So, I mean, I don't know how that owner situation is going to play out. Is it someone in the family taking over and just keeping it? Are they selling it? I don't know. We'll see. That's a lot of speculation beyond that. But yeah, regardless, somebody new is going to be in charge, and you don't know what they're going to want out of this.
Yeah, I mean, when you play franchise mode in a sports game, you don't say like, "Oh, this team's pretty good. Let's just leave it as is." Like, no, you fiddle with things.
Yeah, exactly. So Michael says weekly Jackson Panthers diss. Michael, feel free to come on here and defend Tepper if you want. Feel free to drop your Tepper defense in the chat. I'll listen to it if you want to go ahead.
Yeah. I don't even think about that. I didn't realize I dissed the Panthers so much until Michael became a regular here.
Yeah, I mean, look. They've been a very dissable franchise lately, but yeah, if you want to go ahead and defend Tepper, I'm all ears.
Let's move on to the Jaguars. We both went with Lawrence here, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is the make or break year, right? They've changed everything again. They've given him. I mean, this has been for the last couple seasons. This has been the guy that's now viewed as the quarterback whisperer. He is the quarterback whisperer hire of the league. They got him for a very, very specific reason, and it felt obvious at the time.
I don't know if he's the quarterback whisperer. I think I'll give credit to Dave Canales, Panthers guy. Me, big Panthers fan. That he's the quarterback whisperer.
He's done some great stuff too, but Liam Cohen the last couple seasons have also done really. I mean, they couldn't get Dave Canales, so he is the new quarterback whisperer that was on the market. So it worked the last 2 seasons. He did some really good things. So yeah, they spent a lot of draft capital on a tantalizing prospect that's going to play some receiver for them as well. Like, yeah, Trevor Lawrence has to rise to the occasion. We have to see that development.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence is currently under contract for I mean, he's under contract until the 2030 season. You can't really get out of it for the next. He's going to be playing for the next 3 years for Jacksonville, whether they like it or not, and even the 4th year. You wouldn't save that much money by cutting him. In 2030, he's scheduled to have a $74 million cap hit with zero dead money if they cut him. He might not make it that far if this keeps going the way it goes.
Yeah. Doesn't seem like it's going to, so we'll see.
Yeah, but again, it's like I've seen him play well. Like it's different than somebody's. Like I've seen him play good football.
Yeah, I mean, we were defenders until last season. Last season is where we really felt like that. Things have to get better now. It's not just we can't make excuses. Yeah,
I agree. Let's move on. Let's go to finishing off this division. Did you go quarterback here as well?
To an extent, I actually did Brian Callahan. I think he came in as an offensive guy. They clearly wanted to give Will Levis a shot. Didn't work. And, I think a lot of it had to do with their draft positioning, right? Like they weren't in a position to take a quarterback. That's fine. You punt on it. We'll see what happens. They let Levis go. and get Cam Ward, obviously, with the first overall pick. And yeah, this is now Callahan's job. He was brought in also as a offensive guy, as someone who worked with Joe Burrow and helped Joe Burrow become the quarterback he is. He's now tasked with doing the same thing with Cam Ward. And yeah, I want to see the plan in place. What is the plan in place to help your quarterback succeed? Because we saw with Jaden Daniels, Cliff Kingsbury very much had a direct plan for making things work. We saw with Eberflus in that Bear system, they clearly didn't have a plan with Caleb Williams that worked out. So can you have a plan in place to make it easier on your rookie quarterback? Because this is not a good situation overall. This is going to be tough for any quarterback to succeed, never mind a new quarterback. So they're going to have to try and make it as easy for them as for him as they can.
Yeah, I think it should go okay. Like, I think that, like, the offensive line, they've added a lot of pieces. I think the question is how would it play together, right? But, like, on paper, it looks pretty good. It'd be a pretty solid Madden offensive line. They do have weapons offensively. So, like, I agree. I think that that's a good call going with the coach. I just want L'Jarius Sneed. Like, 2 years ago, this guy was like a superstar level corner. And then last year he gets injured, and, like, when he does play, he just doesn't look good at all out there. Can we get like a good L'Jarius Sneed season again? The guy's 28 years old. Like, if they can get an elite level corner like that can help out the defense, which still matters when you're trying to develop a quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, right now it seems like this defense is going to have hard time getting stops, right? But you brought in a lot of veterans this offseason. You bring in Tyler Lockett, Dan Moore, Kevin Zeitler to help the offense. You bring in, another team talked himself into Cody Barton, so we'll see how that goes. But, you have Sneed, you have Jeffrey Simmons. This defense should have been a lot better than what it was last season, beyond all the Will Levis stuff. The defense wasn't good for a team that spent a decent amount of resources on defense last year and has good players. So I think Sneed's a good call too, because he was definitely one of the big ones that took a step back.
Yeah. Let's move on. Why don't we? Let's go to the reigning AFC champions for 3 straight seasons, won the Super Bowl twice there. Of course, the Kansas City Chiefs. I'll go first here. I went left guard. That was a real issue last year, was the offensive line. They have replaced the tackle with both signing Jalen Moore and drafting Josh Simmons. But who's going to play left guard? Is it really Kingsley Sumatea? It can't be, right? But maybe it is. That's my biggest question mark here. Are we going to get kind of a repeat of last year, where it's like they're constantly shuffling guys around all year?
Yeah. I mean, it still feels like very much a weak link there. Could Jalen Moore bump inside? Could Josh Simmons bump inside? I don't know. Josh Simmons didn't really project as the kind of offensive lineman to move inside. He was much more of a stereotypical left tackle. Maybe Moore we'll see. I do agree with that, because, yeah, offensive line's very much a weak link position, and it's been a big problem that they've had several weak links. Never mind that, they had maybe the best center in the game and an all-pro guard, 2 all-pro guards last season, and it was still a bad offensive line because the other 2 players were just that bad. So they lose one of those all-pro guards, and yeah, I mean, what's it going to look like? They're down to two really good players, 2 great players, and then 3 question marks. So big hole there. I went a little more big picture with this team. I said, like, they kind of alluded to they wanted to this offseason and into next year. Can this team get more explosive again? Is it even possible for this offense to still be, like, really explosive? Because, like, the way teams play them is probably more extreme than any team. The way defenses adjust for them is probably more extreme than any other team. But, like, there's been a lot of emphasis to add speed to this team with Rashee Rice, who got hurt last year. With Xavier Worthy, who came on strong to end the season. You still have Hollywood Brown at that other receiver spot. There is a lot of speed in this receiver group. Can they use it to become that explosive Kansas City offense we remember from 2018, 2019, 2020? And we just quite frankly haven't seen the last 2 seasons. We did our quarterback rankings, and I made the justification that, Josh Allen has had to do a lot more for his team to succeed than Patrick Mahomes. And it's just because they haven't run the offense that I expect Patrick Mahomes to run. He hasn't been in the MVP conversation, whether that matters for him or not, because I don't think they've prioritized trying to make him the great player that he can be until it matters the most. Like, can we see just a great Kansas City team that isn't trying to win every game 20-17?
Right. Yeah. And part of how they're winning 20-17 is by having 12 play drives for when they have the ball because they can't go down the field at any point. I think it kind of goes hand in hand too, right? Like the offensive line has to block long enough for these guys. I feel like the receiving core should at least be decent with Xavier Worthy, Hollywood Brown, Rashee Rice. You even added Jalen Voiles, and I think having Noah Gray being tight end 1 now and having Kelsey kind of just be able to just be a receiving guy, that should help with things, not wear him down over the course of the year. But yeah, I mean it's a fair point. Quite frankly, I don't think they're gonna. I thought of something. Should they just trade for Tyreek Hill back?
Yeah, I mean, there's an art. I mean,
it was the right move when they did it. Maybe they should maybe they need him back now.
But I don't even know if they need him back because there is a case for it to be made that this is the best, most talented receiving core they had since they traded Tyreek Hill. Like this may be more talented top to bottom. There is a chance that this receiving core is sick with Rice.
I would push back a little bit just because Kelsey was like an all-world, like number 1 option a couple years ago, and now he's not that.
Yeah. But Rashee Rice looked like that to start last year before his knee injury.
I don't know if I'd say he looked like he was very good. I don't know if he was prime Travis Kelce.
No, definitely not. But yeah, I mean, he looked like a legitimate number 1 guy on this team last year up until his injury.
Yeah, no, he's very good for sure.
So yeah, I think it's fascinating. I mean, we saw what Xavier Worthy did in some of those playoff games too. I mean, was it garbage time? Sure, but even the Super Bowl, like he was the Chiefs' best player the last 2 rounds, debatably. I mean, maybe not even debatably. I think he was.
Yeah, certainly in that Super Bowl. Again, not a high bar to clear, but
yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly.
I don't remember how Trey Smith did. He might have done well.
Check the PFF grades on that one.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't want to go back and rewatch.
Yeah, did we have a good Carl Loftus game? I don't think so. I think it might be. Was Nick Bolton all right? I bet Nick Bolton was pretty good.
He was in the right spots. Didn't have to make a ton of plays.
I'm sure. Yeah. Because they were just throwing. Actually, I'm pretty sure the linebackers did play well because they were stopping Saquon Barkley, but then didn't matter because the Eagles were throwing 50-yard bombs for touchdowns.
Yeah, that definitely hurts.
The Chargers. Where'd you go?
What did I do for the Chargers? I'm pretty interested in this defense for next season, to be honest. I don't think they're going to, reinvent the wheel with the offense. I think it's going to look kind of similar, maybe try and be a little more explosive at times. But this defense performed really well at times last season. And we thought it would kind of be a transition year for this team with the new coach kind of reshuffling the roster. A lot of people left. And they really overperformed expectations. They got some incredible pass rushing numbers, not just from a guy like Khalil Mack, who had an awesome year, but basically they had 7 pass rushers all playing a part in this defense, playing really well. But it was a bunch of guys that weren't very good in the past, all of a sudden playing very well. And it's all of a sudden it's top to bottom. I think Khalil Mack still has a lot of juice left in that tank. But can the rest of these guys on this team continue to play at the level they did last season? Or was that a kind of blip in the radar that caught a lot of teams by surprise? I mean, I don't know. It could just be that Jim Harbaugh's brilliant. He's going to get the best out of this team. But, we didn't expect it from this roster last season, the way they performed on that side of the ball. And they played incredibly well. Can they do it again?
That's a great take. It's absolutely. And I think about last year, too, it did happen where, when they played Tampa Bay and when they played Cincinnati, when they played those really good passing attacks, they did kind of struggle, even against Houston in the playoffs after the fumble snap play and C.J. Stroud started playing better. You saw some moments where they just didn't have the talent. It's a great point. I think I'm going to lean towards they'll still have success, but that is a big question. I went with Trey Harris, rookie wide receiver they drafted, hopefully to complete that receiving core a little bit more. As great as Lad McConkey is, he is still a slot guy. Getting someone who can win down the field as well would mean a lot for this offense.
It would mean a lot. Yeah, I still think this offense kind of is what it is. I think it's going to be, Justin Herbert is, the tide that's raising all boats, if you will, or whatever the expression is. You have him, you have Joe Walt, you have Rashawn Slater, one of the best tackle duos in the league. I like that Mekhi Becton picked up. I think he's going to be very good for this team too, if he's healthy. They lose My guy J.K. Dobbins, they let him go, but they, bring in Najee Harris and Amarian Hampton, who's just explosive. So that brings some explosiveness to the backfield with McConkey. You bring in Trey Harris. Mike Williams is back in the building. So they played really well offensively and really efficient offensively for not having the most talented receiving room. And the receiver room did get better, even just by default. And Lad McConkey is going to get better. So I think it's going to be pretty good on that side of the ball. And I expect them to just kind of be their efficient selves again. It's going to be interesting, though. Can those guys take a leap and make this offense really, really good or, potentially elite?
Yeah. I agree. Let's go to the Denver Broncos, who I'll start this one. It's weird because they did add a lot of pieces to the defense, which already was really good last year. I think it's going to continue to be very good this next year. I guess you could argue like the corner opposite and Pat Surtain, what's going to happen there? I think they'll be okay. So I decided they were a weird team to pick, Kyle. I kind of struggled with this because it seems like I kind of know what's going to happen here. I feel like I ended up on Troy Franklin of like, I did feel like on specific plays, he showed flashes last year. And again, if they can get like a downfield threat, that changes. I mean, Cortland Sutton is good, but if they can get another threat, I feel like that really changes the dynamic of this offense that I do think needs to get better if they're going to go on a run.
Yeah, it does need to get better for sure. And I actually had, what's his name? RJ Harvey. I think he's
okay. I thought about him
for this. Yeah, it's just like I want to see. This team definitely needs more explosiveness. They manufactured some explosive plays last year, but it was brutal at times to watch this team try and create big plays. They didn't have the personnel. Cortland Sutton put in a pretty good year. Marvin Mims had his moment, like you said. Troy Franklin showed flashes. They had absolutely zero from a run game. And they were trying to make it easy as possible for Bo Nix to be successful as a rookie quarterback and couldn't run the ball. They just couldn't. The guys they were banking on did not show up, did not, live up to the potential they were hoping for. Harvey comes in and, man, he is maybe one of the best running backs in this class at just making people miss straight up. Like, he's shifty, he's crafty, he's explosive. He's going to be really fun to watch. But, like, those guys are also kind of risky in the NFL. We remember like guys like Dexter McCluster who are really fun and making people miss in college. Can they translate that to the next level? I think is going to be the interesting spot, and I want to see Harvey do that.
Yeah, it's a great question because if he doesn't work out, well, then they're going to have more of last year, just not having a great running game, unless you're a big Jalen McLaughlin head. I think you're probably not looking at that. But if it does work out, then they could have real success. So that's a good one. Let's move on to last but not least, the Raiders. Sorry, Raiders fans, for making you wait till the end of the video for this. Kyle, what did you have as their biggest question?
Pete Carroll. I just, I like the hire. We did this a lot because we did our coaching rankings last week. So, I don't want to rehash too much. I like the hire as far as like we're doing a culture change thing where we think Antonio Pierce did some good things, but like we just needed an adult with experience in the room. And I got that. I understood that aspect. But I actually think this team's low-key kind of good. I think this team's talented. I think there's actually a case they could be like a sleeper 11-win team next year. They have a lot of talent on the defensive line. They got some interesting players in the secondary. I think this offense has a chance to be awesome with Brock Bowers, Ashton Jeanty, Geno Smith. Good offensive line. You have Jacoby Myers. You brought in Jack Beck, Trey Tucker on this team. I just like, is Pete Carroll still a viable coach in 2025? Because I mentioned it last week. The Seahawks got better the next year, the first year with Mike McDonald. And I don't think it was perceived as such across the NFL. Maybe just because, Pacific Northwest, West Coast bias sort of thing. I don't know. But like overall, top to bottom, I think there's a chance this Raiders team is actually good. And I want to see, like, is Pete Carroll going to do his same old thing where, it's just a conservative approach on offense with all this talent, and then you're just going to hope to patch together defensively and make enough stops? I just don't know if that's going to work.
Yeah. I mean, it might have been that they only won one more game, so that was part of why they didn't get, like, too much attention of being better. But, hey, going from 9-8 to 10-7 still helps. But, yeah, I get it. I think it's a great pick. I actually kind of went somewhere else with this, where so I think there's probably going to be some issues. I'm still very concerned about the secondary that they have, right? I went with, instead of paying attention to, like a lot of these teams we pay attention to where they could be bad, I pay attention to where they could be good. And I made a video talking about how they could be over the middle. Well, if you have Ashton Genty, who can be, great at making linebackers have to respect them. They can run play action over the middle. You have Jacoby Myers, who's great over the middle. They drafted Jack Beck, who should be great at. Obviously, Brock Bowers is awesome at that, and Geno Smith can make those throws. My question is, can they be awesome there? Like, can this be just a thing where, like, you're essentially like one of the best in the league at a thing? That's part of how you can win football games.
Yeah, I mean, there's a real case for it. And I guess the thing is like, you can absolutely be that. And like, Jacoby Myers is also really good moving over the middle of the field too as a receiver. Mm-hmm. So all of that can work. The question I have is like, will they respect you enough on the outside to open up those spaces in the middle? Because if you're just trying to play between the hashes, it does become easier for defenses to defend against, right? Like if they can just leave you one-on-one on the outside and just hope for the best and focus on defending over the middle, is that viable? So yeah, I mean, but there is a case for it because there is so much talent on that group with this offensive line, with Genty, with Bowers. Like, yeah, I mean, I agree with you. That is a case that they can win a lot of games in the trenches, between the hashes, that sort of style. And I think it could be a really fun team that way. Like there is a case here that this could be a sleeper team, right?
Yeah, I think so. I absolutely think so. It feels like they could use like a Marquez Valdes-Scantling, just like someone who's like, hey, you're not great, but you can just win down the field if they completely, open that up.
Devontae Adams.
Well, yeah. I mean, that was a whole thing. They won that trade somehow.
Yeah, I know. No kidding. Yeah, they did. Yeah. This would also be my favorite. We talked about Jalen Ramsey earlier. This would probably be my favorite Jalen Ramsey team too, as well.
Interesting. What about the Patriots?
For the Jalen Ramsey?
Yeah.
No.
That wouldn't be your favorite?
No, we don't need him. We have Carlton Davis and, all-pro Christian Gonzalez.
No, I know they're good. I just figured that would be, that's your favorite team.
No, I mean, they are my favorite team, but yeah, we're good.
Have Jalen Ramsey play the slot.
Yeah. No, I'm fine.
Okay. All right. Yeah. No,
Marcus Jones there.
This would be very good. Ramsey would fit that. I'm assuming Pete Carroll's still going to do the same like cover 3 thing, right?
Yeah, that's my problem. Is it just going to be base cover 3 with not to mention like you don't have good linebackers to run that base cover 3. It's right now. I'm looking at our lads depth chart site. It's Jacorian Bennett, Landon Robertson, Devin White are listed as the starters.
Oh no,
that's not going to be good. No. And then like I like Jeremy Chin a little bit at times. Mm-hmm. He's had good moments. And then you have Eric Stokes and Jacorian Bennett. So yeah, I think that is a how this team lines up its defense is going to be the big thing. It could be it could be another really fun team that they're going to put up a bunch of points and not get stops. But like I also think like, hey, they have Malcolm Kuntz, Christian Wilkins, Max Crosby. Like that's at least the base of a good defense.
Yeah, they have the pieces, but yeah, any team that's going to be relying on Devin White and Eric Stokes to get significant playing time, that could be tough.
Yeah, maybe it's Jalen Ramsey. We'll see.
We will see, or maybe he'll go to the Patriots. Kyle, that is our show. Let them know where you can find us on Twitter before we head out.
Yeah, make sure to follow us on Twitter. That is at Jackson Kruger. Make sure to follow me at by Kyle Gronin, and make sure to follow the account page at On the Sideline JK. That is at On the Sideline JK. Of
course, if like audio only podcast, anywhere you get your podcast, search On the Sideline Podcast. It should be available there. Yeah, Kyle, that is our show. I guess well, let me ask you. I guess before got a couple minutes. Where are you at with the NBA and NHL finals? What are your takes?
I think I will take Edmonton and Oklahoma City. I think the NHL one could go 7 games again, absolutely. But the way they've scored in some of these games has been really, really impressive. But like, I mean, I think it could end up looking a lot like last year too, where it's like Edmonton has some big games that keeps them in it, and then Florida kind of beats them up. and wins it in 7 sort of thing. So we'll see on that one. But I do think it feels like this could be Edmonton's time. We'll see. And then, yeah, I think Oklahoma City's much better than Indiana. I think Indiana's had a great story. I think they're going to be fun games to watch just because the way these two teams play. These are two of the fastest teams in the league. One team's fast and plays like a frenetic pace on offense that's kind of just chaotic, and that's really fun. And one team plays fast and frenetic and chaotic on defense. So, I think it's kind of like this very much feels like a series that's defined by can Oklahoma City, which is built on speed, youth, and creating turnovers on defense to lead to their offense, create turnovers against Indiana that built on speed, depth, and not turning the ball over because they have Tyrese Halliburton. So I think that's the interesting thing about it. I think all these games are going to be fun, but I just think Oklahoma City is too talented.
Yeah, but I just can't stop being so depressed about how bad the ratings will be.
Yeah, I know. Poor everybody.
Why is this? Why is the NBA fans just have to complain about something?
This isn't even the NBA fans thing. This is the Albert Breers of the world post those dumb graphics of like American TV audiences by like biggest televised events. And then it's usually like they post it and it's like 50 Super Bowls, and then there's like an election thing, and there's like the MASH season finale or whatever, the series finale or whatever. And then it's like, oh, maybe one basketball game that's like 50th or something. And then they'll be like, NFL is king. This all started by NFL reporters this all started by NFL reporters starting to really pretend they actually care about this ratings thing. And then now it's like NBA fans have to act like they're all like concerned about it. Like, who cares? Yeah,
I don't know. People are going to watch. Like, you'll find people to talk about with it. Like yeah. I'm sure it's like there'll be podcasts out there.
Yeah. I don't know. NBA fans do like to be dramatic though, so it is what it is. But I mean, I would recommend.
No, I've had more fun watching this season than I've had in years.
I think this is the best playoffs that we've had in, probably since 2016, honestly, where we had the Warriors come back against the Thunder down 3-1 after their 73-win season, and then obviously that 7-game series against Cleveland. Cleveland had some dramatic moments in that playoffs as well, but they kind of coasted through the East. But I mean, yeah, I think it's been the best playoffs in some time. I think this. Like I said, I think Oklahoma City is probably going to win in 5, maybe 6. I think they're the better team. But I think all of these games are going to be kind of fun to watch just because of the way these two teams play. These two teams love to run. These two teams love to play chaotic. And there could be a couple blowouts because of that. But I also think it's just going to be frenetic and like intense basketball.
Yeah. Kyle, I kind of think the Panthers are going to win. I feel like everyone's on the Oilers just because of like the rematch thing of like Crosby and Gretzky.
It could be. Yeah, I mean, it might be. It could be just my bias, too, because Florida is the, death.
We're all rooting for Edmonton. If you're not in South Florida, you're rooting for Edmonton.
If you're in South Florida, you probably just realized that, like, hockey's happening for the Stanley Cup Finals. But,
there are great fans in South Florida. There's just not a lot of them.
Yeah. I mean, you could say that for all of their sports teams, basically. You've seen those University of Miami games? They don't show up. Miami Heat games, they show up at like halftime.
What always drives me crazy is like you see like them clearing out. It's like a 2-goal game, and like the crowd is like empty. I'm like, why show up to the game? Like I'm not like a purist of that. If it's 6-0, go home. I get it. But 2-0.
Yeah, I don't know. Miami, they're just obsessed with showing up fashionably late and pretending to care, and then leaving fashionably early.
I guess so. Yeah, I don't know, but I just feel like the Panthers are bigger and physical, and they're deeper, and like they're gonna, we'll see what happens. I guess it's nice though that at least like McDavid and Draisaitl are such big names that you kind of can't injure them.
Yeah, that is true. So yeah, I mean, look,
you can injure Brandon Hagel. You can get away with that.
Yeah. But historically, though, we have seen the physical teams typically win out in the playoffs because that's the way the NHL is dictated. Physicality wins out. However, I don't know. It's a team with McDavid and Draisaitl.
Yeah. They absolutely can win in a shootout. Like they can score goal, like that Kings game where they just scored like every like shift. It felt like it can happen.
Yeah, I mean, there is a kid like this McDavid thing where it's like if he wins that Four Nations thing was pretty electric, and I think
Yeah.
caught a lot of fair weather fans too. He wins on that one. Gets the game winner. I mean, if he can cap this year off with a cup, that's a pretty historically significant year, I think, for sure.
Is there a chance that he wins the Conn Smythe again and doesn't win the cup? I think it's possible. He's at. I was looking at it. He has 9 more points than Barkov, who is the leading scorer on the Panthers right now. Like I feel like it's like if he ends up with like 10, 12 more points than like Barkov, and like Barkov isn't able to shut him down in the series, but the Panthers still win. Like I think it's possible.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a chance of it. Like it's not like Bobrovsky's been amazing. He's been all right this playoffs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I
think
there's
give it to Marchand. You might give it to Marchand.
That would make me sick.
So you're fully rooting against Marchand?
I'm not rooting for Florida. I'm just not.
Right.
Like Marchand being happy, I'll be happy, but like I'm not rooting for that Florida team. No, those guys can all just get hit by a bus.
Well, maybe not that.
No, I'm serious.
Okay, all right. Well, end the show on a death threat, I suppose, or a death hope. I don't know what you call that.
I'm not threatening anybody. I'm not going to kill anybody myself, but like, you know, I'm gonna be.
But you hope it happens. You're like, you'd be like, oh, that'd be like how sometimes like you're in the shower, like, I'll be nice if like we won the Super Bowl this year. It's like, I'll be nice if they got hit by a bus.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like,
all right. Well, that is our show. Kyle, you were on fire today.
Yeah, happy to be back, and yeah, great show overall.
Yes, again, we'll be here next week, Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern. We'll go over to NFC. We might have some time off. Again, stay tuned for updates on that. We'll have them by the next show. But yeah, that is our show. Thank you, everybody, for watching or listening. And until next time, have a good one.
Peace.